Broadcast live.
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm good. I'm good. So I always just have to announce before we go live that like we're not having a rap conversation because we're having an educational conversation about influences, brands, marketing, etc., etc. Because I know someone is going to ask me to freestyle or ask you to freestyle, so I don't want to put you on the spot and everything else.
Oh, oh my goodness. I mean, I'm keen to try. Hey, if you drop the beat, I'll try.
Hey, listen. This no pressure, no pressure. You know what I mean? I think you got enough. You got enough connects of rappers for you to just pick up a call. You don't have to take yourself
That's
through that.
very true.
You know.
That's very true.
Let
Mhm.
me introduce you. We're speaking to Silke. Silke, please pronounce your surname. It's Silke Buck. How do you pronounce your surname?
It's bigger, but
Because
that
yeah, I've
doesn't
never.
matter. You can just feel it bigger.
Yeah, we speaking to Silke. Lite Brand Director. Did I say it right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Straight up, and I mean she's joining us today to thanks for joining us. She's joining us today just so we could have conversations about brands and how brands literally partner with with culture, with artists, influencers, etc., etc., etc. And Castle Light literally, I always say that like Castle Light is always heavy, like they carry the cross, and they carry, it's like they literally are the biggest people who are working in the space, so they get the most love or they get the most hate. And you are
Well,
always
we
like,
get both of those.
pardon, you say what?
We get both of those. Both of those, yes.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And I think you see a lot of the conversation about the Light brand all the time, from different people. What is always your perception, and about how you want to connect, or how at least the brand wants to connect with culture, and if there is a misunderstanding, what do you think the culture doesn't understand about like you guys connecting?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that the when it comes to hip hop and just basically what that genre is about, is it is extremely passionate and it is very personal. So I mean, we have had a lot of positivity and we have had some negativity, and that's okay, right? I think that everyone's entitled to their opinions. When it comes to the brand and how we approach our role within the space, I mean, we always come with the consumer at the center, right? So our fans is what we build all of our stuff around. So we are all about enjoyment, and making the impossible possible. So when we do anything, whether that's within hip hop or outside of the culture, it's always with that lens. So I think what sometimes happen is because we do so much within the culture, and we really do come from an authentic place. We don't try to just jump on a trend and ride it. You know, we have been involved in hip hop for more than 10 years, and I do think that we try to credibly add to the culture and partner with a lot of exciting things when and where we can. But it really is with the consumer in the middle, with the fan in the middle, and what we try to do is we always try to bring experiences to life that would never have happened otherwise, because that's the role that we can play, you know. And obviously we are so privileged. We have so many amazing artists right here at our doorstep, and we try to partner with as many as possible, you know, and we like to partner with people that do things differently and change the game, and you know, aren't afraid to push boundaries with us. So I do think that sometimes it gets a bit personal, but it isn't that, you know, it's not a personal thing. It's how can we do things differently? How can we bring content to fans that under normal circumstances might not have happened? And how can we deliver something extraordinary, not just for the brand, but for the culture as a whole as well? You know, as a vehicle, of course.
Yeah, yeah. And you probably get like a lot of slack, and it's gonna happen because even us as Slick on Live, it doesn't stop. You do things with the intention to build the brand, but there's always someone who goes, but you're not doing enough. You know what I mean? From a perspective of looking at South African culture, you know, I just also want you to kind of maybe give people the extent of what you maybe even as an individual or even as your team has to do to convince like the business to work in this space of the culture, because I think people, there's almost this thought of entitlement as if like it just happens. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, that's probably 90% of my job. So my team, they get to do all the fun stuff and execute all the amazing strategies. But when we go and we approach the business with our plan for the year, this is probably about 50 to 60% of our plans, you know, with Unlocks taking quite a big piece of that. And for me to justify that amount of budget on one passion point, which is hip hop, when Castle Lite is we call it the most democratic brand in beer. So what that means is that everyone drinks this brand. So it doesn't matter what your background is, what you like, where you come from. This is it's kind of the safest and most loved beer brand in the country, and the biggest premium beer on the continent. So it's really hard for me to go and justify spending all of this money in one space, you know, but we are extremely passionate about it, and we know what it does for the brand and what it means, not just to the culture, but to our fans as well. So that's how I approach it. And it does bring a lot of meaning into the Castle Lite brand, but it's not something that just happens, you know, like every year I have to justify it. I have to come with numbers to say this is how big hip hop currently is in South Africa. This is what happened after Unlocked last year. These are the biggest hip hop artists currently in the country. This is where the reach sits. You know, so you have to back the stuff up with data. Otherwise, you know, it's not my money, you know. And you have to show some sort of return on what you put out. So it's definitely not easy, but if you go and you prepare, and I think you partner with the right people, the returns are there.
Yeah, yeah. Which I guess maybe might also talk to the importance of the culture also supporting it, because let's just imagine a world without unlocks. You know what I mean? From in the past 10 years, you know, from literally like unlocks, which has brought us J. Cole, which has brought us like Chance the Rapper, Kanye West, Drake, you know, is bringing us Cardi B this year, Meek Mill last year. You know, it's one of those things where one also has to consider a world without unlocks, and maybe the type of support that like uh well, at least a brand like yours would need with the people within the culture to be consistent with that, you know. And how important is it to get that support from people within the culture?
Look, I mean, it's extremely important. You know, sometimes we also feel that, you know, we try so hard, and we do listen. We listen to feedback, and we try to stay kind of ahead of the trends, and to grow as fast as the genre is growing, and with hip hop, right? We want to grow with the culture, but it's hard, you know, and when we do unlocks, we get a lot of backlash because of the international artists, and you know, why aren't we pushing that much into local artists? But that's not how we see it. We love hip hop, and because we love hip hop, we don't care. We don't care if it's an international artist, a South African artist, a Nigerian artist. It doesn't matter, right? What Unlocks is for us is it's a platform that we've created where we bring talent from around the world together, and we're creating connections between people that under normal circumstances might not have happened, or would have taken a longer time to happen, right? So that's kind of the purpose of it. And you saw that come to life in Unlocked last year, where it changed from a, you know, one night big artist and some opening acts to a full 2-day experience where we had masterclasses, we had talks, you know, fans could ask their favorite artist questions one-on-one. So it was a complete different format.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because we've seen the culture evolve, and we've seen that people actually want to be involved in the conversation. They don't just want to watch artists perform anymore. So, you know, I think that for us to invest that much into an experience like Unlocks, we do have some sort of expectation that the artists that we partner with will enable the process as well, you know, and we'll talk about it in a positive light. because we need that. Otherwise, it's really hard to justify doing that a second and a third time, you know. And at the end of the day, we are a corporate company and we are a brand. So when we do these things and we invest this much into people and into a property, small things like tagging the brand, using the hashtag, you know, saying what a great experience Casa Lite, that goes a long way, you know. But what we see everyone really excited to be there and perform, but then it's almost like the brand and the role that the brand played in that is completely forgotten. And when things like that happen, it's not personal for us. It's just really hard for us to track whether or not it was impactful or not. And I guess that's where the partnership comes in and why it's really important for artists to also support what we are doing, because that makes it much easier for us to sell moving forward, why this is such an important partnership, not just for the brand, but for the culture as well.
And you know, I'm never going to distance myself from the culture, but most importantly, culture is made by people. So I also will never distance myself from the people of the culture, you know, no matter how much I know, you know. And so with that, you know, I also want to tap into like maybe like a sensitive conversation like right now, which, you know, you have every right to not answer it because of the position you play. I mean, maybe there was my brothers and sister from the podcast, you know, we're talking about the sway thing, and you just mentioned it now, where like obviously you see hip hop as a whole. It's not just like just regional or anything else. You see hip hop as a whole. I think it's fair also for you to give us the rationale, you know, because we can sit here with. I can sit here and I can agree with my brothers or disagree with my brothers, but it doesn't matter until we actually are able to be in a platform like this, and you from the brand can go, you know, this is the rationale, this is the relationship, and then like things are resolved. Because I think I'm in an uncomfortable position where I feel relationships that culture can have with brands are ruined because brands aren't also talking on the level of the culture or the artist, and the artist is also not speaking on the level of the brand. So I kind of like I'm conflicted because, you know, I mean, I'm just conflicted. But what I want to get to though is that conversation with my brothers and sister from the podcast, and maybe explain it, and you have your fair chance to kind of explain why you guys go that route.
Okay, cool. So I'm not. No, that's fine. I'm very happy to have that conversation. Firstly, I obviously watched the podcast, and I'm very, very much open to feedback, and I'm always hearing what other people have to say, because that's the only way that we get better, right? So I respect each and every opinion that was raised there, and I have had engagements before where I have opened myself up and said, I'm very happy to have a lunch if you want to talk about the things that are upsetting you, right? So I'm still very much open to that. So I have no issues talking to and kind of opening lines of communication, right? So I just want to put that out there. I understand all the points of view, all the points that were raised in that conversation, and I will give you my point of view, right? So I think that let me contextualize what happened with Casa Unlocked in Bed With, which is something that we've never really done before. When we went into lockdown, we said to ourselves, once again, started with the consumer, right? We can't sell beer. So this is not about us selling beer, and it's not about us advertising, because I get no benefit out of it. What would consumers want over this time? And we knew that obviously week 2, week 3, you're going to start getting bored, etc., etc. So as a brand that's known in the entertainment space, we thought, what can we switch on quite quickly and bring into consumers' homes so that we, you know, just lighten up the mood, okay? We came up on this concept, the live stream concept, literally 4 days before our first show, which was also over the Easter weekend. So I just want you guys to understand that we didn't sit with this for 6 months and plan it out and choose people. It was something that happened quite quickly. So what we did is we thought, what is the format that we want to launch this property on? And because we are Lite, and we like to do things that no one else really does. We wanted to bring what Unlocks can bring to a concert. We wanted to bring to life on a live stream. And what that means is bringing people from around the world together to make this piece feel a lot bigger and a lot more engaging, and maybe something that you wouldn't have seen somewhere else, right? So we know that there's a lot of live streams happening. You guys have been doing it, Stogie's been doing it, and it's doing really well. So we didn't want to do a live stream. We wanted to do something different because that stuff already exists. So because Sway is so passionate about South African hip hop, he is the partner of the brand. We signed him on for Unlocks again, right? So we have some time with him as well, because I also don't have budget at the moment, obviously, right? Like with all the stuff happening, we have to be realistic as brands as well. So we had to tap into some existing relationships, and then obviously make sure that we push the funds that we do have into the local artists who at the moment might not be working. So those were kind of the three things, right? So we wanted to give back to our fans and bring some entertainment in home that they wouldn't see anywhere else. We wanted to partner with a lot of the artists that we've partnered with, and we wanted to make sure that in an industry that's suffering at the moment, we play our role, right? So not just in terms of payment and et cetera, but also awareness and kind of keeping it front of mind and showing how amazing it is, because that's the only platform that we can do as a brand. So when we made those decisions, that was what it was about. It was about putting the fan in the middle, asking ourselves, what would they like to see now, and how do we bring things into this platform that is not already being done in the last 2 weeks. So that's really it. It's not personal. I think that what people also maybe misunderstood was that they thought that this is now going to be a lifelong thing. Sway did the first 2 episodes for us because we could turn the first one around immediately, right? He had all the equipment in his house because he does bedroom bars. So we knew that we could just tap in there and we could record. So we'd only had 4 days. And like I mentioned, he's a massive friend of the brand and he's so passionate about South African hip hop. So we thought that was a really good partnership to kick off as a host. And then obviously we had Muesli and we had Nasty, who's amazing. They were amazing in the first show. And then we had Stogie and Rouge last night, who completely, they blew that out the water, and then Focalistic ended. So it is very much rooted in South African hip hop, right? We only had an international host who's really passionate about South African hip hop, and we believe that we're also opening up and making connections that might not be so easy to make, right? If we weren't playing that role at the moment in the current circumstances. So that was the kind of the big idea. But Sway was the host, like I mentioned, only for the first 2 episodes. The next show is a complete different type of show. So we're also playing and seeing and learning. And it's not the same as the 2 that's just passed. So we'll announce that one tomorrow. But yeah, I mean, we also trying different things, tapping into different parts of culture, trying to bring things closer to fans that might not be able to see it anywhere else. And that's really what it was.
Yeah, and I think that in all fairness, I mean, not without claiming anything as a brand, maybe these are the things that people see at the front, but is it fair to say it couldn't have been like Shane Eagle, take for instance, as an artist, he's built a relationship with Bounce, but it wouldn't be Lite that literally helped the relationship to grow, but it almost like created the environment and the space for them to meet. And sometimes maybe are those things that are unsaid, where that's the intention of the brand, but it doesn't really sell you beer. You can't go to Shane and claim it and say, hey, but it's like the subtle things that like maybe people don't know, right? And how
we don't want to play that because Shane Eagle's an amazing artist and he doesn't need Lite, right? So we will never claim stuff like that. But But that is the role that we play. And I think that when we get all of this backlash because of the people that we choose to partner with, people forget that, you know, Sway knows Rouge's name because of what happened at Sway Cyphers last year, because she was amazing on the stage. And when we spoke to him, we said we want to bring her back for the Carson and Locks in Bed with and with Stogie P. He didn't even debate that, right? Because he was like, I remember her, she was fire, bring her onto the show, you know, so he knows who she is. So if she ever travels to the States and says, hey dude, here I am, he's gonna be like, cool, come join me, let me introduce you to some people. And like, we're not claiming that because she's an amazing artist, right? She did that by herself, but we are trying to enable those relationships or kind of create a platform where it's easier for people to connect outside of the borders of South Africa. You know, so, but we won't claim that because that's not, it's just not fair. You know, we're not the culture. We just.
Yeah. Now, I mean, another controversial topic, I guess, is, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great.
I'm just laughing how you like dive straight into that, like first question, but it's over now, so it's cool. Let's carry on.
We're gonna wrap it up and we're gonna get into, I mean, you see, for me also, like, it's sometimes I don't want to talk about like airy fairy things. You know, people know that there's in bed with Castle Light. They know this, so that's the only way you can also be able to discuss the rationale with something that people actually know, without us like talking about some. So this is how we do it, blah blah, and it's far fetched. So let's bring it closer to home, in order for us to be able to, in order for people to also relate. Do you know what I mean?
Fine.
Yeah, you know.
I'm not scared to have conversations, so it's fine.
Straight up. So another thing, like, so obviously, like, you know, when things like that happen, at the end of the day, you know, we have it's like, I wanna sorry, I'm just gonna digress a bit, right? Today I got a call from and this is the importance of culture. I want to bring this up. I just can't mention the call I got for who it was, but it's a big thing from a cultural perspective with what we grew up with. It was one of the biggest things that ever happened in South Africa. To a certain extent, there's a global superstar today who's big in the world, and she's connected to this thing that happened. It was a show that happened that was ran by this great writer, and it was such a movement in South Africa, you know, back then. And they called me today, like, without giving much, but to just say they just want, they say that the guy, the writer, this legendary guy, knows who I am and he wants to work with me. And it's like, I don't know, it's not a money thing, it's not a, because I wanted it out, you know, but like it's just so culturally entrenched in our history that I just ran around the house and I was like, oh, well, to a certain extent, I probably even want, if I don't do it, I'm not going to do it because of how big this thing was. Do you know what I mean? In South African culture. And that's how big culture is, you know? And you will always need to have the champions of culture in the forefront, and will always need to champion them one way or the other. Whether it's well, maybe me one day, you know, or maybe whether it's like whether it's a school, whether it's the whoever, you know, whether it's a Sizwe, whether it's Juarez, people who champion culture are always, someone is going to look at the content 20 years later and go, this is how I feel, like the way I felt when I got this call today.
Yeah.
How do we also try protect our artists, so when they do say things that, let's say, offend brands, out of maybe not having the knowledge, how are we able to not blackball them and maybe just go, maybe let's try reach out and have the conversation? And if someone literally doesn't get it, then okay, let's blackball them. You know what I mean? Because I know that you're not accountable, or brands are not supposed to be accountable to individuals, and brands would also like the same respect that they probably think they give artists. But how do we also create a bridge where we don't completely blackball guys if they're speaking out of ignorance, they are talent, but bring them in? But if they do it again and again and again, okay, cool, then forget it. Do you think there could be a way to build that bridge? You know, if brands, let's just say you guys, let's just say Castle Light was you open to, you said you opened with the podcast, but let's say you were offended. Let's say you were offended and you're like, I don't want to work Scoop, I don't want to work Speedster, I don't want, you know, how do we remedy those things so we don't cut these guys out? Because they still are important in culture one way or the other. It's only if they repeat and repeat, then you don't do it, you know?
Yeah, look, I mean, I just want to start off by saying I agree with you. They are important in culture, and they have their points are valid, and they obviously have built up their credibility through a lot of hard work. So, I mean, they aren't disrespected by anyone on my side, that's for sure. So they are important, and I think that I just want to point out that we have always had immense respect for kind of the OGs, if that's what you want to call them, you know. So if you, I mean, Sia, you've worked with us for years, you know, and we make sure that there's a space for the guys that have kind of paved the road, as well as profiling the new talent. That's what we try to do, you know. So if you look at what Unlocks was about, we had you running a talk, you know, we had like from all the way back, Waras was like, he did the kind of the little conversations in the middle of the square. So we make sure that everyone's involved, and then we profile new talent. And it was the same with Casa Unlocks in Bedworth, right? We started with Muesli and Nasty, but last night we had Stogie and Rouge, you know, so we went all the way back, and that's the conversation that we had, right? So I just also want to point out that if you pick up the phone and you speak to someone in the brand, it's not like that stuff falls on deaf ears if it is a valid conversation, right? And if it comes from a place that's real and that's backed by authentic things, you know. And it was a really great show. So we do try to keep the balance between respecting where kind of hip hop's come from, all the way to profiling a lot of the amazing new talent in the country. When it comes to like blackballing talent and blackballing people, look, I mean, you know, we are not wired that way. I think the problem is that if someone is seen to be volatile, it's really hard to invest money in that person, right? I am not saying that anyone that you've spoken about tonight is volatile. I'm just trying to give you a brand's perspective, right? I'm taking my own personality out of this now. It's really hard to invest money into someone that's volatile, because you don't want a person coming to a show and then deciding to have a fight in the back room, and then Twitter explodes, and then the show is kind of null and void because of the drama that's brought into the process, you know. And I think that there are certain rules that you have to oblige by if you are contracted to work with brands, right? Just like I have to oblige by rules because I work for a business, you know. I don't decide to only to like my own working hours. That's not how it works, because that's the contract that I signed. So I think that having an opinion on a public platform is your right. You know, like I can't take that personally. That's your right, and I'm sure that you deserve that right, because you've been in the game much longer than I have, right? So, or the brand for that matter in most cases. So like that always comes, and we view that from a respectful point of view. But when it comes to branded experiences, and you are contracted as part of that experience, and there are things that then happen within those four walls, if I can put it that way, that's really hard then to justify bringing a person like that back, unless there isn't a conversation that happens, you know. And whether that is misconduct, whether that is, especially because we're an alcohol brand, like going over the limits in public is quite a big thing for us. You know, bringing any competitor product onto the stage, things like that, that's like really hard to kind of to look past, you know, especially if you are contracted by the brand to work for that day. I'm not talking about like speaking on your own platforms and having your own opinions. I'm talking about, we have signed a contract and now we are working together on this day to achieve the same outcome, you know. So like small things that can be addressed, like how do you post and what do you tag? Like that's small stuff, right? And that's not the end of the world. And we talk about it and we try to find better ways of doing it together. But, there are certain things that aren't great. And yes, I understand, like, we are all free spirited and creative, and sometimes the world runs away with you and you just have a little bit too much fun. But those things have repercussions. And I guess that's the biggest thing, that there's a balance between this is your private platform and where you have an opinion, which is totally fine. And today you are here contracted by the brand and working on the brand's behalf, just like I am now talking on the brand's behalf, right? So that's there's a fine line between those two, which I think sometimes might be blurred out. And that's probably where the biggest lesson sits for me. But to get back to your point around kind of not blackballing people, I don't think that that's how the world should work, unless you are, really, really negative and kind of slandering the brand, or that's a complete different space, But like I said to you earlier, a lot of this stuff has been raised, and I was very open to have conversations. So I'm not someone that just, my brand also, and none of our partners either, do just turn around and say, sorry, you're out of the Castle Lite stable. That's not how it works. But I do think that all of us need to treat each other with respect, and that goes for the brand as well. There's a lot of hard work that goes into what we do. It doesn't just happen by itself. And I think that sometimes that is not really taken into account when these conversations happen.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I just don't like saying the things that I like, because I would want to vouch. I want to vouch for you because people think that everything for me is easy. So, and they don't know, they don't know that I'm sending. It's an example. They don't know that I've probably sent you like 10, 20, and I'm exaggerating, 10, 20 proposals, which.
But you're not exaggerating. I think you're underplaying it.
You say what?
I said you're not exaggerating. You're underplaying it.
Yeah, but like I mean, people think that I got it easy, and I always just want to kind of go, the relationship is built of like 10, 20 proposals with ideas or whatever, because you either besides just like saying this, you feel that this is what a brand can do in culture. So because you almost like very so consumed with the culture, you have ideas that you think can work with brands. You kind of matching things. It's like a marriage. It's like those Indian marriages where you kind of matching the wife and everything else. So I've seen so many ideas, and so when I do say that I vouch for you, I'm not going to talk. I'm not talking it as if like you've accepted my 20 presentations or proposals that I've sent. It's a real thing, and I mean, someone had a question saying, how does Castle Lite choose artists? And I'll vouch for the fact that talking about the Stogie T thing, it wasn't a. I mean, he called me about something he felt, and I called someone else from the brand. They literally called you. You called me. We called. It literally all happened in the space of under an hour. The agency that was doing the booking call. It literally happened under an hour, and I wasn't calling for myself. I wasn't calling to make money for myself. I wasn't calling. It was just like, in the culture, there's this thing that's going on, ring, ring, ring. And I've got the call. And just so we could avoid a thing where one of the guys that I respect in the culture, whether it's Tumi, he literally like, maybe if he's maybe misinformed or maybe he feels a certain way about something, let me try connect the dots so he's got the bigger picture. So if he does get the bigger picture, he can at least walk away and go, well, screw Castle Lite with the big picture. Or, okay, now I get it. So besides just trying to like connect guys because you're trying to make money, it's also because we want to educate ourselves. How important is it for people to be on top of their business? Because let's remove culture. Castle Lite is a business. Every brand is a business. And artists also, if they want money, they don't want money because they're just an artist. Clearly, they're a business. How important is it to work with people who know their business?
Yeah, look, I mean, Sia, I think that's probably the most important point out of the conversation tonight, is that once you have put yourself in the public domain and you are selling your services as an influencer, right? You have become a business. And there's repercussions to those things, you know, and there's repercussions to how you behave on public forums. There's repercussions to how you behave when you are on stage. There's repercussions to the things that you say on your radio show. I mean, you saw what happened with Waras earlier in the week. Leslie Soul, you know, like that's just the stuff that's just what happens, and that's the same for any brand, right? So like we are constantly in the crossfire because we put ourselves out there, and if we don't conduct ourselves the right way, you know, it comes and it kind of bites you in the bum. And I guess that maybe that's a big shift for some people. I think that a lot of the new generation and the younger guys, it was easy because they grew up that way, right? So that's how they grew up and that's how it worked, and they're kind of navigating their way through this minefield of I'm a creative person and I'm an artist, but I'm also a business. But it feels like a lot of people weren't kind of brought up like that, you know, and you don't think about life that way. But that is where you are right now, and that is what you're competing with. So you are not just competing on talent anymore. You're now competing on kind of what can you offer an additional, you know, to whoever wants to invest in you as an artist. And you know, that can be other things that you bring to the partnership. So it doesn't always have to be reach. It can be your influence. It can be the type of personality that you have out there. It can be the credibility within the culture. Like everyone has their own unique selling proposition, but you have to actively go out and build that, you know, because that's what sets you apart from other artists. It's not just the performances anymore. It's like, what else are you bringing to the table? And once you are clear on what that is, and obviously it has to be authentic and it has to be true to who you are as a person, you have to make sure that you seed that in all of your engagements, not just with brands, in all of your engagements, because then it's easier when people sit and they say, okay, we want to put this thing together. This person is very much involved in these types of conversations. They will fit really well within this space because you have built yourself as a brand that way, you know. So unfortunately, it's not enough anymore to just, you know, like be talented. And that's the same everywhere, you know. It's the same even in marketing. It's not enough to be the best brand person anymore, because that's not how life works. It's now about what connections do you have, you know, what influence do you have outside of your business that you're in, you know, what are the types of conversations that you're having, because that's the type of person that you are, and does that fit with the type of person that we are? You get what I'm saying? It's much bigger now than just performing, which sometimes is sad. But it's also the reality. And I guess that we all have to be a little bit more aware of the types of conversations that we engage in, because those are the things that follow you now, you know? So, and that's just the reality.
I was laughing when you posted on your gram that we're going to be having this chat. And Nomuzi literally said that you must give it to them. And I was like, so Nomuzi, whose side are you on? And she responded and she said, yo, I'm with the bosses. You know what I mean? And I think that literally stems from a conversation where it's something I'll always take from her, where she was saying in one of the meetings that we all had once upon a time, and that you were also present. She was saying she is the CEO of her company. You know what I mean? She is the boss of her company. So when she is speaking to the brand, she's also wants to speak to the boss of the brand, or the boss of like the director almost. It's almost like I'm the CEO. So she knows who she is and her worth and her value. So already she's literally going that she wants to build a relationship with you, not say that anyone else under you doesn't matter, but just goes, but I also want to know the boss. You know what I mean? I could have come in with through the agency or whatever the case be, but because I'm a boss, I actually want to kind of also know the boss. You know what I mean? Yeah. And those and do you find those are the relationships that kind of are more that make I guess business move forward and progressive rather, yeah?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that she's a great example, you know, like, I mean, she's been working with us on Castle Lite stuff for a long time. I only met her like personally met her last year. So I didn't meet her before that, but like she's very clear on what it is that she does. So she's obviously an amazing artist, and she has her own vibe, but that's not what she pushes. Like she pushes her business, her influencing skills, her like things outside of just music. And you can see, even if it's, this is what we do, right? Even if she doesn't work with Casa Light, we can see how hard she pushes for the brands that she does work with. So whether it's VW, whether it's a different alcohol brand, whether it's some stuff for the NBA, like she pushes as hard as if it's her own business. And that's a partnership, right? So that's why we love working with her, because we know that she puts just as much into this as she puts into her own stuff. And if you think about it, like this is my baby. So how your music is your child, this is my child, So if I give a part of my baby to someone, I want to feel confident that that person is going to take it and love it and push it as hard as I would have if I had the talent to rap myself, which I don't, right? So
Yeah.
so she's a really good example of building a kind of a value proposition outside of just who she is as an artist. And she works so hard. She works really hard to make sure that that is the image that she leaves behind, no matter who it is that she engages with. So that's a really good example of the
I like that.
conversation that we.
Yo, Silke,
Yeah.
I appreciate how you really like just coming through and I thought that I'd probably need to speak with you like with gloves and everything else, but and I think everyone else is everyone else is really appreciating how you actually like just addressing these issues, because this is my big fight, I don't make the money that brands make, or I don't make the money that big agencies make, but like it's so difficult for me to try show people without people thinking that what are they giving you, because we always trying to move people forward and educate them, because there's not enough people inside brands that can speak like you do. You know what I mean? So I really do. I really do appreciate how you just coming in, and just giving it as it is, and schooling, because for me, I believe culture is only gonna move forward when it happily marries brands and vice versa. Not even, well, culture will just evolve, but I'm just saying culture is literally going to grow and become stronger, particularly African and South African culture, the more we kind of are able to relate with brands and work together with brands, because half of these brands are already global. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I have like are from global descent. So already, if we are able to build strong relationships, what are the chances that like within the ABM Bevs kind of stable that like they can work with a local guy and connect them with another global guy, etc., etc. So already the brands are global, and so we don't have to start all over with the relationships, if we do kind of build. But how do we show that to I mean, I don't think I'll ever be like that. I'm not an artist anymore, but I am trying to educate my peers or the guys that I think have got the chance. So when it comes from your mouth, it's just powerful and it's more authentic. And I appreciate you coming out like that. And I want to read some of the comments here. So just to make sure that I'm touching on what everybody wants to say. Zaid Osman, shout out to Zaid. Zaid is runs Sneaker Exchange. Is one of the founders
Yeah, I
of
know.
Sneaker. Yeah, he says, shout out to the legends for this chat. You're a legend, Silka. You're the one, Sextrology says, shout out to Silka Balka for being on the live, Figo-centric says, when is Castle Light hosting a creative workshop? This conversation is very insightful. You might end up being in the panel, huh? Silka. Arsenic says, please ask her where does one send proposals if you want to pitch something? How does that work? I guess it depends.
So yeah, look, it depends. We obviously have an email address that you can send it to. Also, you can contact us through the website and any of our social media channels. So we get tons of proposals. So I guess my advice there would be make sure that you keep it short and that you have something that's unique and different and already established. Then it's easier for us to partner with you.
Yeah. And also know that Slicker's got 200 rejected proposals, so don't feel bad.
Not that is not true.
I'm
They weren't
playing, I'm
being
playing, I'm playing.
rejected. You are
Lebam
lying. I
Khosa-
always, you know that I listen. I always listen to you, and I value your opinion. So that's not true.
No, no,
That's
I'm
not.
just, I'm playing with you. Come on now.
Yeah.
Levan Khosani says artists must treat themselves like a business. You're an asset and you're your biggest asset. DJ Supernova says business etiquette should be top tier at any point, which I know you guys have a relationship with him, Um, yeah, so there's a guy who says that like maybe Castle Light needs to go to Matatiela because there's really a lot of support coming that side, not just big cities if we were talking about doing it for the culture. Tell me, like, let's talk about maybe distribution channels and how do you choose the regions that you guys end up going to and investing in?
Yeah, look, I mean, we Unlocks normally plays out in Joburg just because logistically it's the easiest. We did have when Travis and when Travis and Bryson was here, we did a show in Polokwane as well, which was crazy. It was really, really cool. So it depends on kind of what the objectives are that year. But from the question that the guy is asking around kind of small towns, and that's really because that is where the cool kids are, right? It's like I'm from a small town, you're from a small town. I'm just giving myself some credit in the conversation too.
Shout out.
But when we reworked the kind of the build up to Unlock this year, which obviously now has been pushed out because of of COVID-19. Um, we have something called Roads to Unlock, which is where we go across the country before we get to the main concert. So this year, all of the cities, like normally we do Durban, Cape Town, Joburg, Pretoria, but this year we didn't do that. We focused on like the smaller towns that are like where the real underground hip hop is currently like kind of bubbling. So I totally agree with that question, and I think that it's important to take the influence that you have wider than the spaces that gets it all the time. And I guess that's the role that we want to start playing more actively as a brand.
Okay. What goes into a Castle Light Unlocks? That's from Masha Kumire.
But Marsha knows. She ran Unlocks. Yes, she
Why is
knows.
she acting?
She knows. No,
I think
I mean,
she just wants people to know what it takes.
okay. I mean, you also know. Look, I mean, Unlocks is a beast. It's about a year's worth of planning. It takes us very long to kind of get the artists on board, make sure that everyone feels that their vision is collaborated into the show that we put on, selling tickets, build up, all of that stuff. So it takes my entire team's involved with that, and I've got, I think at the moment, between 8 and 9 agencies working on Unlocks, to bring all of the different pieces and assets to life. So it's not a small task. It takes us an entire year as a brand team to pull that off. So it's a lot of time, and it's a lot of effort, but it's also a lot of fun. So
And I
love it.
and I guess that also explains for it's almost like you guys almost have to sit there and go, okay, we've booked J. Cole in 2016 for him to come in 2017. We just hope that he's still relevant then.
Yeah, dude. Like that's a big that is a big one. And also, will the tickets sell out? Are the tickets too expensive? What we're currently struggling with, because we make our own rules, right? So we said we never want to bring the same artists, and we want to bring someone that's like on the verge of blowing up. And that's getting like really hard. It's getting quite hard because we've brought a lot of really cool artists, and a lot of the bigger ones came to South Africa with Unlocked. Drake, Kanye, J. Cole, Chan, Travis, Post Malone last year. It's not small fry. Now we've got Cardi, so I don't really know how we're gonna top that next year, but we'll see. I'm
I
sure
think
we will.
we must just worry about this year. Cardi needs to just do that work, you know. He just needs to do that
I know.
work. So she just needs to do that work so like she's still relevant at the end of the year. That's all. You know. I mean, I can
Absolutely.
this is how COVID-19 literally has impacted you guys. It's like if like Unlocks was in June, we know Cardi is still hot. So it's like one of those
So,
things.
you still be hot in December. I'm not stressed about that. I'm not
Yeah, I don't
stressed
know.
about that.
I mean, Cardi's a different beast, of course. But like, I mean, I'm sure there are artists where you like go, ooh, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, we don't play, like I said, play by the rules. So we've got some surprises up our sleeve for unlocks this year, and we've only announced one of them. So I think that there's still
Oh,
some ways for us to go before December.
okay.
You heard it here
Some people
first.
shout out. People are already throwing names. They're saying the baby, Roddy Rich. Hey, Kendrick was here before, you know. And what type of research though goes into picking these international artists?
Look, I'm surrounded by people that are definitely much smarter than me and much more in tune with what the kids want and what's happening in the culture. So I lean a lot on that. We listen to what consumers say. So like everyone's always really busy on Twitter, and you know when we do those polls and we put random artists on the polls, it's because we're trying to find out, right, and fish a little bit and see what's hot and what's not at the moment. So there's a lot of that's probably the way I spend the most time. When it comes to unlocks, my team does most of the rest of the work, but like that's where I'm quite involved, obviously with my partner agency and a lot of other people, where we sense check the different options put on the table. And every year we have like 3 or 4 options, and I guess that's the hardest, because you can justify any of them quite easily. So to put your kind of pen down and say this is the one that we're going with, that's nerve breaking. Like it's a lot of money that you're putting behind one artist. In some years it does really well, and other years it hasn't done as well. So it's a big chance to take that, but it's
Mm,
exciting as well.
yeah.
And we do
Hey,
listen. We do listen when people talk. We listen.
yo, Silke, shout out, man. You know, this is dope, you know. And we're looking forward to obviously Unlocks Real. We also next week we're looking forward to the next episode of it In Bed with Castle Light. You see, now I'm promoting, you know, I'm out here promoting, you know, the live that goes on next week, Wednesday. What else? What else can we look forward to? I mean, yes, you've given us one exclusive that there's a possibility, you know. Um, what other exclusive can we look forward to?
Yeah, see, I mean, look, at this point in time, I'm just trying to figure out what the world looks like post this lockdown. But there's a lot of exciting things happening in the background. So just not even just unlocks, unlocks this year. We're already planning unlocks next year. We're trying to figure out what we want to do with this live stream and if we want to create like a permanent platform out of that and how that will come to life. We've got some really cool stuff coming out in like August, September. That'll also be really fun and engaging and something that I believe consumers would really enjoy. So I can't give you too much right now because I haven't announced anything. But there's a lot of really cool things coming.
Well, you know, some of the people that like they're saying that you should bring so here's suggestions. Like your focus group, like we got a little focus group. Maybe we should ask people to get a little focus group. So people saying you should bring Doja Cat. Maybe it would make sense so she could reunite with her father, who she hasn't met from what she says. You know. So I don't know. There's a TV show called Kumbule Kaya. So Doja Cat's father's from South Africa. So yeah, so let's just see who people want to see, you know. Um, but yo, man, this has been dope. And just by the way, you know, if you want any, I've got an online show right now, you know, a radio show that started on IG, you know, and my people are crying for data, you know. So So if like we could just give my people data so they can tune in my show, we're growing,
You know, that seems to be the biggest barrier. Hey, it really, even with our thing, it seems to be the biggest barrier to people actually enjoying content. And it's really sad because when you look at the rest of the continent, that's not a problem at all. So when we do
Yeah,
any live streams anywhere else, like it's like 100,000 views because data is accessible. Where yeah,
yeah.
it's not. So yeah, there's a bigger conversation there, unfortunately.
Shout out Silka. Your name is almost like mine, Slicker. So
I know. I know. Many
it.
people call me Silke actually, and then I just take it. I just own it. I'm like, yeah, that's me.
That's why you're a legend. You're an OG. You know what I mean? Man, thanks a lot, man. And like you said, because you are dealing with the most democratic brand, as you say. The sextrology says, I don't know whether it's a he or she, says her uncle is a big fan of Castle Lite. So, everybody be out there clearly drinking it. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Mr. Nkoko says worth every minute. Lingo says plug yourself, Sia. I don't need to plug myself in Silk. I just send a text. Shout out
Yes,
Uncle
or like
Party Time. Yo, I think also another kid that you really that I really believe is gonna go places is Uncle Party Time. He's been on the live also. He's highly talented. And I think that like this guy is gonna go places. He's got a good energy. And he's been also on this. He says this was so dope. Thank you guys. He's gonna be a legend also one day.
For the next Unlocked is that you should host a segment and bring all of the up and coming talent onto the stage that you think we don't know about. How does that sound?
YouTube. Yo, I'm saying straight up. You see, now you are sending me a proposal. I'm gonna think about your proposal, Silke. Just send it on email. Click on Live. It's got a thing called contact there. Send it on email. Let me think about your proposal.
I'll take that.
Shout out. Thanks for taking the call. The president is about to speak and tell us what our reality looks like right now. So we hopefully go check that out. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for the chats. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Shout out.
Bye.
All right.
Broadcast live